Mental health issues affect millions of Americans, and teenagers make up 33% of the population who find themselves useless, joyless, and depressed. Suicide rates have become more alarming each year, but from 2012 to 2015, the suicide rate for teenagers rose to 31%, with the suicide attempt rate increasing to 23%. It seems that amongst those who felt depressed, there was a common thread. All the signs point to the amount of time a teenager spends on his or her phone. Smartphone ownership crossed the 50% threshold in late 2012. Right then, teen depression and suicide rate began to increase as well. By 2015, 73% of teens had access to a smartphone. This correlation to depression and screen time appeared in teens from every background, race, and every region of the country. This generation of teens born after 1995 were more likely to experience mental health issues much more than their millennial predecessors. The sudden ascendance of the smartphone in such a short period of time is why teens would feel more depressed and commit suicide, according to a paper published in the Clinical Psychological Science. Not only did smartphone use and depression increase, but also time spent online was linked to mental health issues. According to the Pew Research Center, teens who spent 5 or more hours a day online were 71% more likely than those who spent less than an hour a day to have at least one suicide risk factor, like depression or making a suicide plan. Overall suicide risk factors rose significantly after 2 or more hours a day of online time. During a study conducted, randomly assigned participants gave up Facebook for a week, and those who did reported feeling less depressed at the end of the study. It also has been found that teens now spend much less time interacting with their friends in person. Face-to-face interaction is one of the deepest well springs of human happiness, and without it, moods start to suffer and depression risk often follows. Spending more time on screen gives a feeling of social isolation, which is one of the major risk factors for depression. Teens are also sleeping less, and this alone is a major risk factor for depression. So if smartphones are causing less sleep, that can explain why depression and suicide increased so suddenly since 2012 when the ascendance of smartphones came. Depression can be caused by genetics, so teenagers can be affected no matter what circumstance. But those most vulnerable, those who would not have had a mental health issue in the past, may have slipped into depression due to too much screen time, not enough face-to-face social interaction, inadequate sleep, or a combination of all three. Although much of the research is not completely definitive to argue less screen time, it is recommended that screen time is limited to a minimum of 2 hours a day. Though the numbers are already high, let's hope it's not too late for the new generation of teenagers being brought up in this highly technological-based society. Reporting for Digital Citizen News, this is Yasmin Rodriguez.